The massive unified Galactic Council observation station erupts into chaos as alarms blare across every deck. For the first time in recorded history, a human vessel has crossed the Perseus boundary, officially entering Sovereign Council space. Admiral Klovex of the Taurian fleet pounds his chitinous fist on the command console. One ship. They send one ship after decades of hiding behind their borders. The vessel, identified as the HSS Pathfinder, makes no evasive maneuvers as 20 Council warships surround it. The ship's captain, Alexandra Chen, appears on communication screens across the Council fleet, her expression unnervingly calm. "We come with a proposition," she announces as the Council ship's sensors detect unusual gravitational fluctuations emanating from the Pathfinder. The stars are going dark, and we're the only ones who know why. Admiral Klovex's secondary breathing sacs inflate with agitation. His compound eyes shift between the human captain's face and the sensor readings that make no logical sense. The gravitational signatures coming from the Pathfinder defy conventional physics, pulsing in patterns that suggest the small vessel somehow contains mass equivalent to a small moon. "Patch me through," he orders his communications officer, a slender Meridian whose translucent fingers dance across the bioorganic interface. The Admiral's mandibles click twice, a gesture his staff recognizes as his preparation for diplomacy, before he addresses the human. "Captain Chen, your vessel has violated 17 distinct sovereignty treaties. Explain these dark stars before I order your ship atomized." Chen's expression doesn't change, but something in her eyes, a flicker of what might be amusement, causes the Admiral's carapace to tighten instinctively. "Permission to transmit data packet," she responds, ignoring the threat entirely. "Your scientists will want to verify our findings independently." Before Klovex can respond, his science officer, Trelbos, interrupts. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity from the Cassini sector. Long-range sensors show." The reptilian officer's voice falters. "This can't be right. Stellar output from the Cassini binary system is decreasing at an exponential rate." On Chen's communication screen, the human allows herself a small, grim smile. "That would be approximately 6.2 light-years from your current position, correct?" "Right on schedule." The observation deck falls silent. Even the ambient hum of the station's life support systems seems to quiet as the implications sink in. "How could you possibly know that?" Klovex demands. "We've been tracking the pattern for months," Chen replies. "Your long-range sensors aren't calibrated to detect the early warning signs. Ours are. We've had prior experience." The science officer's scales flush a pale blue, a physiological reaction to extreme stress. "Admiral, the Cassini binary has gone dark. Complete stellar extinction in both stars simultaneously. Millions of lives on the inner colonies just gone." Klovex turns to his tactical display, where the lone human vessel hangs in space, surrounded by enough Council firepower to reduce a small moon to cosmic dust. Yet somehow he feels like the vulnerable one. "You will be escorted to High Command," he informs Chen, fighting to keep his voice steady. "The Council will want a full explanation." Of course, Chen agrees with that same unsettling calm. "But I suggest we hurry. According to our calculations, you have approximately 42 hours before the Peridian system suffers the same fate. And isn't that where the Council Patriarch's family estate is located?" The Admiral's primary heart skips a beat. The human knows things she couldn't possibly know. About Council astronomy, about politics, about the secret locations of their leaders' private retreats. His instincts scream that this is an elaborate human deception. Yet the Cassini system is undeniably dark. "Prepare my shuttle," he orders his second-in-command, "and assemble a boarding party. I want to see this ship and its captain up close before we reach High Command." As the communication screen goes dark, Klovex can't shake the feeling that despite being surrounded by the Council's most powerful battle fleet, The human vessel is exactly where its captain wants it to be. Admiral Klovex personally leads a boarding party onto the Pathfinder after its enigmatic captain agrees to inspection. The Council delegation is stunned to discover the ship is crewed by merely 12 humans, all of whom appear completely unconcerned by their vulnerable position deep in enemy territory. Captain Chen leads them to the observation deck, where a holographic display shows a distant sector of space, the Cygnus Reach, where over 700 stars have inexplicably extinguished in perfect geometric patterns over the past 6 months. Your long-range sensors can't detect it yet, Chen explains, but we've been monitoring the phenomenon since it began. When Klovex demands to know why humans would share this information, Chen activates another display showing mathematical projections. Because in approximately 103 days, whatever is causing this will reach your home systems, and in 167 days, it reaches Earth. We're not here because we want to be allies, Admiral. We're here because extinction doesn't care about our politics. The delegation moves through the Pathfinder's curved corridors, their escort, a human officer named Lieutenant Reyes, maintaining a respectful distance. Klovex notices how the ship's interior defies its exterior dimensions, corridors extending where none should exist. Spatial compression technology, Science Officer Trellvoz whispers, his scanner silently analyzing the surrounding architecture. The humans have mastered non-Euclidean engineering. Klovex clicks his mandibles in annoyance. Focus on finding weapons signatures, not architectural curiosities. They pass a chamber where 3 humans hover in zero gravity, manipulating complex holographic symbols that shift and tessellate in response to their gestures. The symbols resemble nothing in the Council's extensive linguistic database. Our calculation team, Captain Chen explains without slowing her pace. They're modeling the next extinction sequence. The Admiral's security chief, Commander Drav, bristles. Your crew shows remarkable comfort with foreign dignitaries wandering your vessel. Chen's response is immediate. We're not comfortable, Commander. We're desperate. They reach a sealed doorway marked with biohazard warnings in 17 different languages, including several obscure Council dialects that haven't been used in official communication for centuries. This is why we crossed your boundary, Chen says, placing her palm against a scanner. The door hisses open, revealing a laboratory where a swirling mass of absolute darkness floats within a containment field. The darkness moves, not randomly, but with purpose, occasionally forming angular patterns before dissolving again. By the first light, Trellvoz gasps, his scales shifting to deep indigo. That's a fragment off. Yes, Chen interrupts. We call it a void shard. Retrieved from the first system that went dark in our territory. It's a piece of whatever's consuming the stars. Klovex steps closer to the containment field, feeling an instinctive revulsion as the darkness seems to reach toward him before retreating. What is it made of? That's the problem, Chen replies. It's not made of anything. It's the absence of something. Our physicists believe it's a manifestation of entropic acceleration. Essentially, the future state of universal heat death reaching backward through time. Lieutenant Reyes hands each council member a data crystal. Full analysis of the shard, including our containment protocols. We've also included the mathematical progression of the extinction pattern. Klovex studies Chen's face, searching for deception. Why would humans risk crossing into council space just to warn us? Your kind has never shown such altruism before. Chen's expression hardens. Look at the pattern projection, Admiral. The geometric spread isn't random. It's purposeful, like something drawing a diagram across the galaxy using dead stars as its medium. She activates a larger holographic display showing the projected pattern's completion. The council members freeze as recognition dawns. It's creating a boundary, Trellvoz says, his scientific detachment finally cracking. A perfect circumference with Earth at its exact center. Chen finishes. Whatever this is, it's coming for us first. You're just in the way. Back at Council headquarters, Fierce debate erupts over the human vessel's claims. Science Director Elara Tivash confirms the data appears genuine, but Council Security Chief Draz Moore remains convinced it's an elaborate human deception. Meanwhile, Captain Chen allows select Council scientists aboard the Pathfinder, revealing that humanity has developed stellar preservation technology after observing similar extinction events in distant galaxies. We can save approximately 30% of systems in the projected path, Chen explains. We've prioritized Earth, naturally, but we're willing to share our technology in exchange for unrestricted access to the ancient archives on Centauri Prime. The Council is thrown into disarray by this request. The archives contain technological secrets the Council has hoarded for millennia. Security Chief Draz Moore dispatches covert operatives to infiltrate the Pathfinder, convinced the humans are hiding their true purpose. One ship, he mutters to his agents. Why only one ship if they truly face extinction? The Grand Chamber of the Council headquarters dazzles with bioluminescent architecture, its vaulted ceiling resembling an ancient ocean from the Council founder's homeworld. But today, the chamber's beauty goes unappreciated as representatives from 17 species shout over one another. The Cassini system didn't just go dark, it was obliterated. The Meridian ambassador's voice carries despite her slight stature. 12 billion citizens lost in an instant. High Chancellor Vox, his crystalline body reflecting fractals of light with each movement, raises his arms for silence. Science Director Tivash has completed her analysis of the human data. Director, your findings. Elara Tivash approaches the central platform. The elderly Pleiadian scientist's skin shimmers with anxiety induced by luminescence as she activates the chamber's holographic array. The human data is consistent with our own observations, she begins. The Cassini extinction follows the precise pattern they predicted. Furthermore, their energy readings from the void shard match anomalous signatures we detected in the Helios sector 3 cycles ago, but dismissed as instrumentation errors. Convenient timing. Security Chief Draz Moore interrupts. The Orion commander's scared face contorts with suspicion. Humanity develops this salvation technology just when we face annihilation, and they request our most closely guarded secrets in exchange. Tivash's gentle features harden. I've personally observed their stellar preservation prototypes. The technology employs principles beyond our current understanding, creating localized pockets of alternative physics where normal entropy cannot penetrate. Chancellor Vox's crystalline appendages chime softly as he considers, and they claim they can save only 30% of threatened systems. Yes, Tivash confirms. Their resources are limited. They've been constructing these devices since their first encounter with the phenomenon. At the chamber's edge, Admiral Klovex watches the debate with growing unease. His private communication implant vibrates. A message from Commander Drav aboard the Pathfinder. Observation team reports humans conducting unauthorized deep space transmissions during night cycle. Signal direction unknown. Encryption impenetrable. The Admiral's suspicions deepen. He moves toward a secluded alcove and activates a secure channel to Security Chief Draz Moore, who excuses himself from the chamber to join him. The humans are hiding something, Klovex whispers. Their ship contains technology centuries beyond what their public development timeline suggests possible. Draz Moore's eyes narrow. My infiltration team deploys tonight. We'll discover what game they're playing. Meanwhile, in the Council's restricted Xenobiology wing, Captain Chen examines a preserved specimen of an extinct species, a silicon-based life form discovered on a dead world near the galactic core. Her expression remains neutral, but her eyes catalog every detail. Fascinating, isn't it? Asks Elara Tivash, entering quietly. The Kexil Kothi developed a highly advanced civilization before vanishing mysteriously 50,000 years ago. Chen studies the crystalline structure of the specimen, not mysteriously. These electron patterns in their cellular matrix. They're identical to degradation signatures we've observed in the void shard. Tivash's bioluminescence pulses with shock. You're suggesting this has happened before, Chen states flatly. Many times. That's why we need the ancient archives. We believe they contain records of previous extinction cycles, and possibly how to stop them permanently, not just delay them. In the chamber above, Chancellor Vox reaches a decision. We will allow human scientists limited access to specific sections of the archives, under guard, if their technology proves effective. His announcement is interrupted as the chamber's emergency alert system activates. A communications officer rushes in, mandibles clicking in distress. The Peridian system has gone dark, she announces, 17 minutes ahead of the human prediction. 3 Council Black Ops agents infiltrate the Pathfinder during ship night cycle. Using advanced cloaking technology, they navigate through darkened corridors toward the vessel's secure data core. Inside Captain Chen's quarters, the human leader sits alone, eyes closed in meditation, seemingly unaware of the intruders just meters away. As the agents breach the final security door, they freeze in horror. The data core room contains not computer systems, but a viewport revealing a massive fleet of human vessels, hundreds of ships holding position in perfectly calculated formations just beyond Council sensor range, hidden within the gravitational shadow of a nearby pulsar. Each vessel bristles with weapons unlike anything in Council records. Before the agents can report their discovery, gravity within the room inverts. Captain Chen's voice comes through the comms. I believe you found what you're looking for. The question is, do you understand what you're seeing? The agents are captured, but one manages to transmit a partial image back to Drasmore, a glimpse of the hidden armada that changes everything. The lead operative, Commander Sylvek, motions his team forward through the Pathfinder's dimly lit maintenance shaft. Their photon-absorbing suits render them nearly invisible, their movements masked by sophisticated sound dampeners calibrated to human auditory thresholds. Bioscanners show minimal crew activity. Sylvek subvocalizes through their neural link. Most humans congregated in the vessel's forward section. Agent Korlath, the team's tech specialist, bypasses a security node with practiced efficiency. Their encryption is unusual. Organic algorithms that adapt to intrusion attempts. The third operative, Tenra, monitors their escape route. 9 minutes until the patrol cycle returns to this sector. They reach an unmarked door, distinguished only by the faint energy signature emanating from within. According to the ship schematics they'd assembled from external scans, this should be the Pathfinder's primary data core, the repository of whatever secrets the humans are hiding. Korlath interfaces with the locking mechanism. Strange. No conventional security protocols. The door slides open with surprising ease. It's a trap, Sen-Ra warns, but curiosity overrides caution as the 3 agents peer inside. Instead of the expected server arrays, the room opens into what appears to be an observation deck. A vast transparency dominates the far wall, impossible given their location deep within the ship's interior. Beyond the transparency lies open space, and within that space, by the void, Sylvek breathes, forgetting operational silence. Hundreds of human vessels hang against the starfield, arranged in complex, 3-dimensional formations. The ships vary in design, some sleek and predatory, others massive and industrial, but all share distinctive energy signatures unlike any Council technology. Most disturbing are the massive ring-shaped structures being assembled between vessel clusters, each large enough to encircle a small moon. This isn't a diplomatic mission, Korlath whispers. It's an invasion vanguard. Sen-Ray activates his quantum transmitter, capturing images to relay back to Security Chief Drasmore. I wouldn't do that if I were you. The agents spin toward the voice. Captain Chen stands in the doorway they'd just entered through. Impossible, given they'd tracked her location to private quarters on the opposite side of the ship. Before they can react, gravity shifts. Their bodies slam against what was previously the ceiling, then the left wall, then float weightlessly for 3 disorienting seconds before crashing to the floor. Their cloaking fields flicker and fail. Chen approaches, unaffected by the gravitational distortions. The archives mention your species' particular talent for espionage. We counted on it, actually. Senra lunges with a paralytic blade, but his movement slows to an impossible crawl, as though moving through dense liquid. Chen sidesteps with casual ease. Localized temporal manipulation, she explains, almost apologetically. One of many technologies we've developed while your council hoarded knowledge instead of advancing it. Through the haze of disorientation, Sylvek manages one question. If you have such a fleet, why the charade of a single diplomatic vessel? Chen's expression softens momentarily. Because what you're seeing isn't a war fleet, Commander. It's an evacuation armada. She gestures toward the ring structures. Those are stellar preservation cradles, designed to create stable pocket dimensions where endangered systems can be relocated. Sylvek feels the quantum transmitter in Senra's hand pulse once, confirmation that at least some data reached Drasmore. Chen notices too, her expression hardening. Unfortunately, you've just made things considerably more complicated. The revelation of a massive human fleet poised at the edge of Council space shatters the fragile unity of the galactic powers. The militant Taurian and Orion delegations demand immediate military mobilization, while the diplomatic Pleiadian and Centauri representatives push for negotiations. Security Chief Drasmore presents his theory. The stellar extinctions are real, but the humans have weaponized the phenomenon. This isn't about survival. It's conquest. Meanwhile, aboard the Pathfinder, Captain Chen receives encrypted transmissions from Earth Command. Maintain position. Revelation protocol proceeding. As CHEDULED. When pressed by Council diplomats about the hidden fleet, Chen neither confirms nor denies its existence, instead focusing discussions on the extinction event. In a private meeting with Elara Tivosh, Chen reveals ancient human star charts showing similar geometric extinction patterns from thousands of years ago, long before human space travel. This has happened before, Chen whispers. The difference is, this time we know how to fight it. Across Council space, civilian populations receive anonymous data packets containing evidence of the coming darkness, creating widespread panic their leaders cannot contain. The Council war chamber, unused for 7 generations, now thrums with frantic activity. Holographic displays show defense fleet deployments, evacuation protocols, and most prominently, the grainy image of human vessels transmitted by Agent Senra before his capture. The image conclusively proves human duplicity. Security Chief Drasmore's voice carries over the assembled military leadership. While distracting us with tales of cosmic extinction, they positioned an armada at our borders. Admiral Klovek studies the image with compound eyes designed to detect patterns invisible to most species. These formations are defensive, not offensive. Note the concentric arrangement, typical of protection protocols, not invasion staging. Protecting what? Drasmore challenges. And why hide such a fleet if their intentions are benevolent? Before Klovex can respond, Chancellor Vox enters, crystalline form vibrating with barely contained stress harmonics. Behind him walks Captain Chen, flanked by council guards yet carrying herself with undiminished authority. What have you done with my operatives? Drasmore demands. Chen faces him directly. They're unharmed. We've simply relocated them to one of our observation vessels for their safety. Safety from what? The Orion commander's hand drifts toward his ceremonial blade. From what's coming. Chen activates her personal interface, and the chamber's displays shift to real-time footage of something massive moving against the starfield. A darkness that seems to bend light around its edges. This was recorded 40 minutes ago at the edge of the Arcturus sector. The first architect has arrived ahead of schedule. Stunned silence falls across the chamber. You said we had weeks. Klovex finally speaks. We did. Something's accelerated their manifestation. Chen's calm facade cracks slightly. Possibly your agent's transmission. The architects are sensitive to certain quantum frequencies. Chancellor Vox turns to Science Director Tivosh. Confirm. The elderly Pleiadian nods reluctantly. Our instruments detect a massive gravitational anomaly in the Arcturus sector consistent with the human data on these architects. In the resulting chaos of voices, a junior communications officer approaches Klovex, mandibles clicking nervously. Admiral, we're detecting unauthorized transmissions throughout Council space. Civilian channels are being flooded with information about the stellar extinctions and evacuation instructions. Realization dawns on Klovex's face as he turns to Chen. Your people are bypassing our command structure. Chen doesn't flinch. We calculated a 73% probability that your leadership would waste crucial time in political maneuvering rather than mobilizing civilian evacuations. You have no authority, Drasmore begins. Authority becomes irrelevant when facing extinction. Chen interrupts. We've identified which systems in Council space can be preserved, and which cannot. The evacuation protocols being distributed prioritize preserving knowledge and genetic diversity. Chancellor Vox's crystalline structure darkens, a physiological response to extreme stress. You presume to decide which of our worlds live or die. We made the same calculations for human colonies, Chen replies quietly. 17 of our worlds have been marked non-viable for preservation, including my home colony of Europa Prime. The admission lands heavy in the chamber. We don't have time for politics, Chen continues. The architects have begun their feeding cycle. Either we implement the preservation protocols immediately, or we can maintain Council authority over billions of soon-to-be-dead citizens. From the chamber's entrance, Alara Tivosh steps forward, her ancient form glowing with unusual intensity. Chancellor, I've completed my analysis of the archive sections the humans requested. Her voice trembles. The records confirm everything they've claimed. This extinction event has occurred before, every 26,000 years. And each time, civilization falls. With Council space in political turmoil, the Pathfinder sensors detect acceleration in the extinction pattern. The darkness will arrive sooner than predicted. Captain Chen finally reveals humanity's full knowledge to a select joint species scientific committee. The geometric star deaths are the feeding pattern of entities humans call void architects, ancient beings that consume stellar energy to build pocket dimensions outside normal space. Humanity encountered a dormant architect in the Arcturus system 50 years earlier, learning their weaknesses after nearly losing Earth's sun. We've been preparing defenses ever since, Chen explains, activating a hologram showing specialized human vessels designed to generate artificial stellar envelopes, essentially creating decoy stars to lure and trap the architects. The revelation stuns the committee. Humans haven't been developing weapons of war against the Council for decades. They've been preparing for this cosmic threat. As if responding to humanity's revelation, the first void architect emerges at the edge of Council space, a colossal geometric structure of impossible angles that devours a binary star system in minutes. The Council's most powerful warships launch a desperate attack against it, only to be completely ignored as the entity continues its feeding pattern unabated. The emergency conference room aboard the Pathfinder has been transformed into an impromptu war chamber. Holographic displays track the architect's progress through the Arcturus sector as representatives from 7 Council species crowd around the central tactical table. Conventional weapons are useless, Admiral Kolvex reports, his exoskeleton clicking with agitation. The 7th Fleet launched their entire antimatter arsenal against the entity. The weaponry passed through it as if firing into vacuum. Lieutenant Reyes manipulates the tactical display, zooming in on the architect. The colossal structure defies conventional physics, a fractal lattice of darkness that simultaneously appears flat and multidimensional, geometrically precise, yet constantly shifting. That's consistent with our experience, Reyes explains. The architects exist partially outside normal spacetime. Physical weapons can't interact with their primary mass. Science Director Tivosh studies the entity's movement pattern. It's methodical, consuming stellar material in precise increments while leaving planets intact. Almost surgical. Not mercy, Chen corrects, entering the chamber. Resources for later consumption. The worlds will be harvested once their stars are gone. She activates her neural interface, and the tactical display shifts to reveal the human evacuation fleet, now moving openly through Council space. The massive ring structures, preservation cradles, are being positioned around selected star systems. We've initiated contingency Aurora, Chen announces. Earth Command has authorized full deployment of preservation technology to all viable systems, regardless of political boundaries. Chancellor Vox, joining via quantum projection, bristles visibly. The Council has not authorized. With respect, Chancellor, Chen interrupts, we're beyond authorization. The Architect has already consumed 3 star systems in your territory. 17 more will die within the next 12 hours. She gestures, and the display shifts again to show the interior mechanism of a preservation cradle. Each cradle creates a pocket dimension anchored to but separate from normal space. Once activated, it envelops an entire star system, pulling it into a state of dimensional isolation where the architects cannot reach. And the systems without cradles? Tivosh asks quietly. Chen's expression remains professional, but her eyes betray the weight of the decision. They will be lost. We have resources to save approximately 30% of threatened systems. The selection was made based on a complex algorithm factoring population density, biosphere diversity, cultural significance, and strategic value. Security Chief Drasmore, surprisingly subdued since the Architect's appearance, steps forward. If these entities are so powerful, what makes you believe your technology can stop them? Chen exchanges glances with Lieutenant Reyes, who nods almost imperceptibly. 50 years ago, we encountered a dormant architect beneath the surface of Jupiter, Chen explains. It awakened during a routine mining operation, and nearly consumed our sun before we discovered its weakness. She activates a personal device, projecting a small hologram of molecular structures. The architects consume energy, but they're vulnerable to a specific form of exotic matter we call null particles, particles that exist in a state of quantum uncertainty. Admiral Klovex leans closer to the projection. You've weaponized quantum uncertainty. That's theoretically impossible. Many things were theoretically impossible until necessity proved otherwise, Chen replies. The preservation cradles are Phase 1, evacuating salvageable systems. Phase 2 is the deployment of null particle generators to create barriers between the architects and remaining stars. Before anyone can respond, the chamber's emergency alert system activates. A human technician's voice comes through with controlled urgency. Captain, we're detecting massive subspace distortions throughout the sector. Multiple architect signatures emerging simultaneously across a 70 light-year radius. The tactical display updates, showing dozens of darkness patterns materializing across Council space, far too many for the preservation fleet to address. Chen's composed expression finally cracks. They're adapting to our strategy. This changes everything. With multiple void architects now materializing throughout Council space, Captain Chen finally reveals humanity's terrible calculation. Their defensive technology can save many worlds, but not all. The human fleet emerges from hiding. Not an invasion force, but specialized vessels carrying stellar preservation technology. Council High Command watches in stunned silence as the human fleet disperses across threatened systems. Chen presents the Council with humanity's strategic assessment. They've identified which star systems can be saved based on complex calculations involving stellar composition, proximity to void architects' projected paths, and defensibility. The impossible truth dawns on the Council leaders. Some of their homeworlds aren't on the preservation list. Riots erupt across Council space as the information leaks. In a devastating moment of clarity, Admiral Klovex realizes why the humans sent only one diplomatic vessel. You needed us distracted by suspicion, while your scientists made their final calculations. You were never asking permission to save us. You were deciding who among us was worth saving. Captain Chen doesn't deny it. We have the capacity to save 12 billion lives across Council space. There are 96 billion sapient beings in the affected sectors. We made our choices based on which populations have the knowledge and resources to help defeat the architects once and for all. The Pathfinder's bridge hums with grim efficiency as human officers coordinate with their fleet. Tactical displays show the preservation cradles deploying around selected star systems, while void architects multiply across the sector. Cradle deployment at 63% completion for priority systems, Lieutenant Rice reports. Estimated time to full activation, 17 hours. The architects will reach the Centauri homeworld in 15. Chen responds, her voice steady despite the implications. Redirect the Prometheus squadron to reinforce their position. Admiral Klovex stands silently at the bridge's periphery, watching the humans work with methodical precision. Beside him, Chancellor Vox's holographic form flickers with distortion as quantum communication becomes increasingly unstable. The Meridian and Taurian delegations are demanding immediate evacuation, the Chancellor reports. Their homeworlds aren't on your preservation list. Chen doesn't look up from her console. We've transmitted the criteria for selection to your high command. The list isn't negotiable. Because you've already positioned your cradles, Klovex observes. This plan was finalized long before you crossed our borders. The bridge falls silent as Chen finally turns to face them. Yes, we spent the past 50 years developing this technology, mapping patterns of previous extinction cycles, and calculating probable architect manifestation points. The diplomatic mission was necessary theater. Theater. Chancellor Vox's crystalline form pulses with anger. Billions will die. Billions were always going to die. Chen responds, her composure finally showing cracks. The hard truth is that we can't save everyone. Not even our own people. We've sacrificed 17 human colonies to ensure the preservation of key Council worlds. Klovex's mandibles click in surprise. Why would humans prioritize alien worlds over their own? Chen activates a holographic projection of galactic history, a timeline spanning hundreds of thousands of years. Because this cycle has repeated itself dozens of times, civilizations rise, reach our level of development, and are harvested by the architects. But each time, the cycle is slightly different. Each time, knowledge is preserved, technologies advance incrementally. Science Director Tuvash, who has been analyzing data in silence, looks up with sudden understanding. You believe we can break the cycle. We know we can, Chen confirms, but not alone. The preserved Council worlds contain scientific knowledge, cultural perspectives, and technological approaches humanity lacks. Together, we have a chance to end this threat permanently instead of merely surviving it. A communications officer interrupts. Captain, we're receiving emergency transmissions from across Council space. Civilian riots on 12 worlds. Military coup attempts on 3 others. Chancellor Vox's hologram flickers more severely. Your selection criteria leaked to the general population. People are panicking. Not leaked, Chen corrects. Released. By us. People deserve the truth, even terrible truths. Klovex steps forward, his massive form looming over Chen. You've undermined our authority, created chaos during our civilization's darkest hour. Authority based on information control was always temporary, Chen replies without backing down. Now you face the same choice we did 50 years ago. Adapt to the truth, or cling to comforting lies while extinction approaches. Before the Admiral can respond, alarms blare across the bridge. A tactical officer's voice cuts through the chaos. Massive subspace rupture detected. Something's coming through. It's bigger than any architect we've encountered. The main view screen shifts to show a vast darkness emerging at the edge of the Centauri system. Not the geometric precision of previous architects, but a swirling maelstrom of non-existence that dwarfs them in scale. That's not an architect, Chen whispers, genuine fear crossing her face for the first time. That's what they serve. As void architects consume star after star, humanity's true strategy is finally revealed, Not mere preservation, but counterattack. The human fleet positioned specialized vessels called Prometheus ships at mathematically precise coordinates throughout Council space. Captain Chen, now coordinating with both Earth Command and Council forces, explains, "We don't just save stars. We weaponize them." The Prometheus ships simultaneously initiate controlled stellar flares across hundreds of systems, creating a synchronized energy wave that illuminates previously invisible filaments connecting the Void Architects, revealing their true nature as a single vast organism. Council and human forces launch a coordinated assault on these exposed connections, while the Pathfinder, now revealing its actual purpose, positions itself at the calculated focal point of the network. The unassuming diplomatic vessel transforms, deploying massive arrays that channel the combined energy of the stellar flares. For a moment, Captain Chen and her small crew bear the focused power of 1,000 stars, directing it into the heart of the Void Architect network. The resulting cascade causes the ancient entities to fold in upon themselves, collapsing into dimensional pockets of their own creation. In the aftermath, as combined Human Council humanitarian missions rush to evacuated worlds, Admiral Kulvex finds Captain Chen in the Pathfinder's medical bay, her body ravaged by exposure to stellar energies, but her mind still sharp. "You knew from the beginning," he says, not a question, but a realization. "One ship was all you needed, because you never planned to save everyone. Just enough of us to ensure the knowledge of how to fight these things survives." Chen smiles weakly. "Humanity's greatest weapon has always been terrible clarity, Admiral. We accept the impossible choices that must be made, so that life, in some form, continues." Across Council space, the stars shine on, diminished in number but preserved by the species once considered too young and volatile to join galactic civilization, the species that understood that sometimes survival demands sacrifice. The vast darkness emerging at the Centauri system's edge defies comprehension, a cosmic anomaly that absorbs not just light, but seemingly reality itself. The Pathfinder's sensors struggle to maintain lock as space-time distorts around the entity. "What are we looking at?" Admiral Kulvex demands. Captain Chen accesses restricted files with trembling hands. "We call it the Void Weaver. Our theorists believe it's the central consciousness that directs the architects, like a neural core deploying appendages." Science Director Tivosh collapses into her chair, bioluminescence dimming with shock. "That entity is conscious, not as we understand consciousness," Chen explains. "It perceives reality across dimensional planes we can barely detect. The architects are merely its sampling mechanisms." Lieutenant Reyes approaches with a data tablet. Face ashen. "Captain, Earth Command confirms activation of Helios Protocol." Chen closes her eyes briefly, a momentary break in her composure. "Understood. Transmit final confirmation. Authorization, Chen Omega Sunfall." Across tactical displays, the human fleet's formation shifts. Preservation cradles continue their work securing selected systems, but the vessels designated Prometheus class begin moving into complex geometric patterns mirroring the architect's own formations. "You're not retreating," Kulvex realizes. "No," Chen confirms, standing straighter. "Now we fight." She activates the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. Pathfinder's true mission commences now. Prepare for full metamorphosis." Throughout the vessel, hidden compartments open as the ship's interior begins to reconfigure. Walls shift, corridors seal, and the bridge itself expands as previously concealed technology activates. The Pathfinder was never just a diplomatic vessel, Chen explains as the transformation continues around them. "It's the focal node of our entire defense network, designed to channel and redirect stellar energy." Chancellor Vox's hologram flickers more violently as quantum disruption intensifies. "What exactly are you attempting?" "The Void Architects harvest stars to feed the Weaver," Chen explains, moving to a newly emerged control station. "We're going to give it indigestion. Across Council space, the Prometheus ships position themselves beside stars not yet consumed. Each vessel extends massive energy collectors toward its neighboring sun as the Pathfinder's transformation completes. What was once an unassuming diplomatic vessel now bristles with complex arrays and focusing mechanisms. The Weaver and its architects exist as a single neural network, Chen explains, initiating final sequences. We're going to overload that network with more energy than it can process. Admiral Klovex watches in astonishment as stars throughout the sector begin to flare simultaneously, controlled solar eruptions triggered by the Prometheus ships. The energy harvested flows through subspace conduits, converging on the Pathfinder. The ship shudders as it becomes a conduit for stellar power beyond imagining. Captain Chen and her crew stand bathed in blinding light as they direct the energy toward the emerging Void Weaver. The cradles will shield preserved systems from the backlash. Chen manages through gritted teeth, her skin beginning to blister from the energy saturation. When the channeled power strikes the Weaver, space itself seems to scream. The vast darkness contorts, its perfect geometries fracturing as the network of architects convulses in synchronized agony. In the chaos, Admiral Klovex pulls Chen away from the overloading control station. "Enough. You're killing yourself." "Not yet," she whispers, face determined despite the pain. "Just a little more." The Void Weaver's disruption reaches critical threshold. Like an immune system recognizing an existential threat, it begins to retreat, pulling its architect appendages back and folding dimensional space around itself. In a final, reality-bending implosion, the entity vanishes, not destroyed, but driven back to whatever dimensional gulf spawned it. In the silence that follows, Chen collapses into Kolvex's chitinous arms. "Not defeated," she murmurs. "Just delayed. But now we know how." 3 cycles later, the newly formed Interstellar Concord holds its inaugural council. Human and former council species sit as equals, united by shared survival. Admiral Klovex, now defense coordinator, places a ceremonial data crystal in the chamber center, the complete record of the Void incursion and humanity's response. "We prepare," he announces to the assembled representatives. "The Weaver will return in time, but when it does, we will be ready." In the observation gallery, Captain Chen, her body permanently altered by stellar exposure, but her mind intact, watches silently, knowing that when darkness returns, humanity will not stand alone.